Okay, it's even giving me a light, that's fine. Hello, my name is Gary Stone, and this video is basically for myself so that I can remember how to tie these knots that I've learnt. Because I don't tie the knots very often, I thought it would be good for me to do a video for myself. And so here goes. I'm going to take an 11-0 hook. This is 200 pound 91 kilogram nylon coated stainless steel wire, and these are the mustard hooks, and I'm just going to take that out. Okay, so important point number one, and then I must just chuck this ball for Hans to be in quiet. Important point number one is take the wire from inside and lay it down along the hook. Okay, so it lays down along the hook like that. So I nip it here with my fingers, and I've got to get this going very tight, and there's enough space there for me to hold it with my finger, and I'm going to wind this as tight as I can. Right. So I slipped that time, that's no good. Start again. There's a bit of a kink in the wire now. Okay, there we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7. Wow. 7 times nicely wound around there. Now I'm going to just try to nip it. Okay, so this is just the line's a little bit tangled now because I was twisting it like that, so I'm just going to untwist it. So we can always cut that part out of the video. Okay, and then I get the end again. So now I'm up to this end, and I go from the bottom again, and I just go through and I pull it. The other traces I was doing was with a circle hook. This is now just with a straight hook, and basically it comes to this position.
Yeah.
And now we need to pull it up tight. So you can see. Oh, I seem to have hooked myself, but you can see it's pinching onto itself. So I'm just going to look for some support now. I'm going to hook it on.
Oh, coming.
Over there. Now I grab it at the end.
Let me just pull this. Okay.
Is it pulling up tighter?
Yep.
Okay. Well, there you go. I don't like that little loopy sticking out there, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this end with the pliers.
Nope.
But that knot is kind of okay, I think.
Get back to where I was. I think I can't see.
Okay, there you go. You can just video onto it. So I'm just pulling it down there, so you can see that's a nice knot, and as it pulls, if you catch a fish on it, it's just gonna pull that knot tighter. So I'm just going to cut off the extra. Oops. Oh, that's how I didn't cut so lekker.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm going to cut it a bit neater. You see now, because I'm videoing it, I'm struggling a little bit, but anyway.
And we see the way it's done.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, just for, you can keep it rolling, Steve, I'm going to take a second hook. So you don't need to put on a second hook, but this is now The reason that it's that you go through from the bottom is so that when you do strike a fish, it actually pulls the hook towards the fish. So that's why you want to go. You want to finish the knot on that side, so it'll pull it that way. So this is just to double the chance of catching fish. That's why I want to put on a second hook. Okay, so they're both down on the bottom there, and we need a little bit of space, maybe not too much space. But that's good enough. We can hook the head there. We can even make it a little bit longer. So I suppose this I need to experiment with. But it's the same thing. You just nip it there and we wind it. It's not always so easy because it is wire. It is steel. Okay, and then we go back.
But you need this kind of tracer because it's ocean.
Because this is actually a shark trace. So those sharks, they'll just bite off the nylon trace. So we go back from the inside again. Okay, so I just have to be careful that I don't kink the wire too much. Now I'll go to the end.
So you see it?
And then I pull it up. Okay. So that will just pull tighter and tighter. I'm not very happy with the way that I cut that off, but so the idea is to hook that through the head of the fish, and then this can just hang next to it, or you can just tie it on. Okay, you can stop that. I learned this from Zuluk fishing. It's a little bit different from what I've been doing it, but it certainly makes a lot of sense to me. So what I'm going to do is, it's called a T-swivel that I'm going to make, and basically a person makes it with putting a bead on, and then putting a piece of earbud in between, and having a swivel over that, and having the next bead. So you would put a stopper on the line made of nylon, which I will demo for myself just now, and then I've got a crimp which I also put on, which I'm going to do later. So let me show you how he showed me how to make this T-swivel. So basically, you cut your earbud like this, and then you take a match and you burn it on the one end to give it a bit of an edge. Now he made kind of smaller edges, and my swivels were a bit big, so I gave it quite a burn, and it seemed to work nicely for me. I'll just press it up against the end of the table there, and I stick the wire through while it's still hot, so that it stays nice and open like that. Okay, so now I have to find a swivel that fits here, and oops, dropped one. These are Japan power swivels. But any swivel that fits onto this will be perfect. This one fits a bit loose. I haven't got any smaller ones, but that's why I made the edge quite thick like that.
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to do the same on the other side.
Okay.
It's quite hot. I used my fingers there too.
Mm.
But anyway, the idea is that the swivel stays on the nylon, and then we have a bead on each side of the side of the T-swivel. Now you can buy these T-swivels. I've never had the T-swivel. I've never had one before.
Okay.
But this is just
Are the beads a contingency? Where they, in case the earbud fails?
okay. So what the beads are, the beads are in case the earbud fails.
Mm.
Yeah, and also what happens is this edge probably wears out after a little bit of fishing.
Yeah.
So the reason for this, if you just put the swivel straight onto the line, it causes a little bit more stress on the line, and it makes it twist. They call it pigtailing. So that's the whole idea of why we're putting the T-swivel on, is to stop the line pigtailing after you've been
Okay.
fishing for a while. So I've got the hooks on. I've got the section, and then you can see it slid right down to the bottom. Now that's not the idea. This is what the actual idea is that you put a stopper, and your swivel would now, your sinker would come onto this. It's a running sinker.
Let's have a look.
So your sinker line comes on there, and you'd put a stopper here by tying a nylon, 0.90 nylon, with a five circles through it, a figure of 8 knot. And you see now when you're fishing, I've got a very long trace here. I've measured it from tip of my hands with wide open twice. And the reason is that if you're fishing and this part is floating loose in the water and it folds back double over your line, and the fish comes past and it bites, then it will bite onto the nylon, onto the steel, and it won't bite through your nylon. So it's always
Okay.
important that this front piece is divided with a stopper, but it's not longer than the back piece.
Yeah.
So you can put that stopper on depending on the conditions of the water, but you could basically move the stopper so long,
Okay.
just as long as it's shorter than that. So okay, the other thing, and you don't always have to have a crimp, but I've got crimps, so I'm just putting them on as a safety factor. I want to show the swivel knot now that I also learned from that Zulu fishing guy, and I just don't know where I put that crimp. I'll just get another one for now.
Okay.
Okay, so now to tie the swivel on, the first thing that I do, and sometimes you forget to do it, is to put a little crimp on, put it over the line, and then I've got these big power swivels over here. This one's been used, but it's still looking in good shape. So this is this knot, and basically you take it through the eye, and I'm going to give myself enough room, and it's a tight twist, and it's actually quite difficult.
Oh boy. Okay.
Because this wire is difficult to bend, but you go around twice, and if you can, even 3 times like that. Okay, so I've gone 3 times around, and now there's a trick here. If you can see up between my fingers, this line is up against the side of the swivel, but the idea is to go between that line and the side of the swivel. So I don't know if you can see that.
Let's draw it in close. Okay.
Okay, so now Now we pull it up. Okay, so you can see that it's still wound around that section quite nicely,
Yeah.
and we pull on the short end, and we can pull on the long end too, just to try to get it a little bit nicer.
Mm.
And now all I do is I bring that crimp up.
Okay.
See, so then it's not going to come loose, and I'll take the crimp up as high as I can. So these crimps are not double crimps, they're single crimps, but still, I'm just going to squish it. You're supposed to maybe have a round nose pliers. I don't have one. I'm going to just squish it with the ordinary pliers like this.
That'll work.
And then I just cut off the short end.
Mm.
Okay, so let's hope this cuts a bit better than last time. Pliers. I just don't want to nip the wrong way.
Mm. I've done that with my guitar strings.
There you go. Okay, so there we've got a shark trace. The knot tied there, it's going to pull. If it pulls, it's not going to pull off.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a space there, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think this will catch a big shark.
Great, great. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Stephen.